So did you know that your presence, good or bad, can make a second impression? You know what, a lot of times we hear, you've probably seen my previous videos where I'm talking about Ruth and Boaz and Naomi, and so many times we hear the saying that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And we've heard that, but however, I never hear people talking about, well, what about a second impression? Right? They act as if the first impression is going to, your faith is signed and sealed with your first impression. Well, if you know anything about what I've been sharing in terms of Ruth and Boaz, everything is not pending on your first impression. Now, it does have an impact, but I don't want you out there to be stuck because you had a first impression with someone and it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out. Maybe you were late. Maybe you said something. Maybe you put your foot in your mouth when you said something. Maybe you described something and it didn't come out right. Or maybe you said something inappropriate and you were trying to make a joke and it was funny, but it came off awkward, right? Maybe it was a business setting or no matter where you were, right? And it's like, I didn't intend for that to sound like that, right? We all have had those situations. But I don't want you to walk away from those situations and say, wow, man, I guess I'm done with them. I guess I can't change what they think about me now. So listen, it's not about changing what people think about you, but it's actually about you doing the best version of yourself now that you may be aware of what you did before. Today I'm going to talk about a story about Ruth and about Boaz, and I'm not going to go through the whole story, but I will tell you this. So Naomi has been mentoring her daughter-in-law, and she has given her some instructions for her second encounter with Boaz because Ruth already had a first impression or a first encounter with him. If you remember back in chapter 2, Ruth was working in Boaz's field. Boaz comes to the field. Boaz talks to his reapers, and he sees his maidens out there, all the women that are out there working. But Boaz notices Ruth. He's like, I don't know her. Who is that? That's what he says in so many words because he's like, I don't know her. I don't know this lady that's out there working. She's working hard. She probably looks good, right? Whatever you want to call it. And so Boaz said, who is that? And then Ruth tells him who she is. And they have this kind of exchange. And Boaz tells her so many words. Listen, don't worry about going to anybody else's field. You can work in my field. I'm going to take care of you. He tells the men, nobody touch her. Matter of fact, you can drink whatever they're drinking. Right? So he lets her know that you're in good hands. Okay? And I'm going to take care of you. And it didn't come off as flirting, but, it could. When you read it, Boaz kind of letting her know now, hey, I got some here, so if you want to make something happen now, don't you just stay working in my field. In so many words is what he was saying. Today I'm going to pick up to where Ruth is having this second encounter with Boaz, and she has followed the instructions of her mother-in-law. And her mother-in-law told her, hey, he's working down at the threshing floor tonight. Clean yourself up, anoint yourself with your perfume, put your best clothes on. Now, when you get there, don't reveal yourself when you first get there. Listen, he's going to eat himself. He's going to be happy after he's eating and drinking. And, there's going to be an appropriate time where you need to reveal yourself to him. Now, when you get there, lay at his feet. Now, when he wakes up and he have a conversation with you, he is going to tell you what needs to happen after that. So don't you just do exactly what I say. Guess what Ruth says? All that you tell me, I'll do. So we're going to pick up Ruth, the 3rd chapter, 7 through the 10th verse. And this is where it says right after Ruth does everything that she tells her to do. 7th verse says, and when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly, talking about Ruth, and uncovered his feet and laid there. 8th verse, and it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid, talking about Boaz, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. 9th verse. And he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art near a kinsman. 10th verse. And he said, blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. Oh my goodness. When I read that, I just think about Boaz is like, oh my goodness. Out of all the men that you could have went after, in so many words, he's saying, you came after me. I mean, Boaz is, you can tell he's kind of like, have you ever had somebody tell you, it's like a great compliment. It's for those of you who have spouses, when your wife says something about you, it makes you want to stick your chest out. I know my wife, Sarah, she can say some things about me. It makes me want to stand proud just because she said it. And I'm telling you, that's how Boaz acted. But anyway, so the name of this video is called Your Presence, Good or Bad, makes a second impression. So I'm going to share with you 5 ways to have a powerful presence, because I learned this from Ruth in this story. I tell you, when I was reading this and I saw these things, I was like, this is pretty cool. I have to do a video on this, because I have been told that I have a powerful presence. And I haven't thought about it, but I guess I do. They say when you walk in a room, we know you walk in a room. It's like, I don't think there's anything special that I'm doing. It's like, no, but it's just your presence is powerful. And I said, that's interesting. And after I read this story, I said, these are the things that I've been doing that I didn't think that I was doing. Guess what? I'm going to share them with you because I learned them in this story. And sometimes we're doing things that we don't even know what we're doing. But I promise you, if you're already doing these things and you start doing them more, you're going to have more of a powerful presence. So let's lean these things that I learned in terms of what I learned about Ruth in this story. So 5 ways to have a powerful presence. What are they? Number 1, we have to have confidence. Now, I will say this. When I walk into a room, I have confidence. Why do I have a confidence? Because whatever I'm there to do, I know that if I don't know in my head, I know God is going to provide for me what I need to know. So I have confidence in not knowing at times, if that makes sense. Ruth had great confidence. Why did she have great confidence? Because 2 things. Number 1, her mother-in-law had been giving her instructions. And Ruth knew that her mother-in-law's instructions had been working. So number 1, she had some instructions. You know what? When you have some instructions and you know they work, you can have great confidence. But if you have some instructions and you don't think they work, oh my goodness, you're not going to have confidence. Let's think about David, right? David had confidence in fighting Goliath, but David did not have confidence in using Saul's armor to protect him and to fight with what Saul was fighting with. So David was like, I'm not using that. I'm using what I know. You see, and that's the second thing. Number 2 is your confidence has to be in what you know. Ruth knew that God had been taking care of them. God had been preparing them so she could have confidence in this strange situation. And that's the way you need to be. You need to gain some confidence. Whatever you're getting ready to face, just think about what God has already done. Think about what you've already learned. Think about what you've already been through. Think about what you have gleaned already. You should have confidence. Have some confidence in who you are. You know why? Because no one can be you like you. Ruth was confident. She had confidence. And so, number 1, it's important for us to have confidence. Now, we're not talking about arrogance, but we're talking about confidence. Okay? Confidence. What is the difference between arrogance and confidence? This is my definition. Confidence is when you believe in yourself and you also believe in other people. Arrogance, in my definition, is believing in yourself and believing that you are better than someone else. That's my definition. Now, maybe that works for you. Maybe it doesn't work for you. But it works for me. You see, I can become arrogant when I believe in myself and I think I'm better than you, which is crazy. But I don't do that. I believe in myself and I also believe in other people. You see, I want to pass my confidence on to other people. Sometimes I've told students all the time, I said, I believe in you. And I say, if you don't believe in you, just believe in my belief in you. You see, that's what confidence is. And that's what we do. And that's what Ruth was. So number 1, confidence. Number 2 is peaceful body language. Listen, Ruth came in the room. What was her peaceful body language? In one video, you heard me talking about position and presentation. Her peaceful body language was she laid at his feet. That tells him, I'm not here to threaten you. I'm not here to do anything to you. I'm not here to take advantage of you. But I'm telling you, some of us, we walk around with a threatening body language. And people don't even want to have a conversation with us. Why? Just because of how our body language is. Right? It's okay to be confident, but don't be arrogant with your body language. Ruth had a peaceful body language. So what are some ways we can have peaceful body language? Be open to people. When people are talking to you, face them. Don't fold your arms, right? Look them in the eye. Nod your head. Don't interrupt. I mean, all of those things are peaceful. Smile. I think that's one of the peaceful body languages sign of all time. If people are talking to you and they're talking about something good and they're happy, smile. Smile. Number 2, peaceful body language. Number 3, tone of voice. How we say things. You know, I like reading these stories, and when especially in the Bible, when I read them, I try to read them in the tone of how people said them. Listen to this. I want you to think about how I'm going to say what Ruth said when Boaz was afraid. He's in the 8th verse. It says, "And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet." Right? So he's like, who is this? Why is she here? What did she do? What did she didn't do? I've been asleep. Oh my goodness. Can't you see him probably being frantic? But I want you to read how when he said what he said, and then I'm going to slow it up and probably read it in the tone of how she said it. And he said, "Who art thou?" And she said, I'm going to read it in this tone, and I want you to hear the tone. She said, "I am Ruth, thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman." Can you hear that tone? Can you hear how it sounds like she is trying to put him at ease? You see, our tone of voice at times needs to put people at ease. You know, the world is so noisy. There is so much going on. There's so many distractions. But our tone of voice communicates where we are. If you really want to have a powerful presence, be aware of what your tone of voice is communicating. Because I'm telling you, Boaz woke up crazy. Boaz woke up out of his mind. Boaz is like, I'm here working. I went to sleep by myself. Who is this woman? Why is she here? What is her agenda? And her tone of voice put him at ease. Your tone of voice can put people at ease in your life. But you need to hear your tone of voice first. Number four is humility. You see, sometimes let me just back up. So a lot of times Ruth could have gone so many different directions with this. But when Boaz woke up and he was frantic, Ruth's presence and how she presented herself with humility, it put him in a state of mind to accept, okay, this is not a strange situation. This is something special. Let me hear this woman all the way out. And matter of fact, not only that, I really want to connect with her and make a difference in her life. And that's what we have to do with our humility. You know, a lot of times we're in first place and we're up front. And so many people, it's not about anybody else. It's all about them. But as I learned about Ruth in this story, Ruth communicated to Boaz that I need you. And Boaz communicated to Ruth that, you know what, you need me and I need you as well. Because guess what? You don't hear in the story how Boaz has been living by himself, and Boaz is rich. And you know, it's one thing to have everything that you want and need, but it's another thing to have everything you want and need and you don't have anyone to share it with. But that's where Boaz was. But you know what? Ruth's humility connected the dots there. So number 4, your humility. And last but not least, number 5, the fifth way to have a powerful presence is to learn how to just accept things just the way they are. I know sometimes we want things to change. We want people to change. But I'm telling you, in this story, Ruth was like, she got to a place where she went through everything her mother-in-law told her to do. And now at the end, she's like, I'm waiting on Boaz, and I'm willing to accept whatever he has to say. And that's what God wants for us a lot of times. We're trying to fight things. We're trying to change things. We're complaining about things. And God is saying, you know what? Just accept things for what they are, because you know what? I'm going to change those things, but I can't change those things until I change you. And don't you know that's one of the greatest messages that Jesus came to communicate and to show for us? Because of what he did, he showed us how to live this thing called life. He showed us how to have a powerful presence. Jesus did these same things too. Jesus had confidence. He didn't have confidence in himself, but he had confidence in his Father, because he knew that's what he was here to do. And he was in that alignment. Remember, in one of my previous videos, I talked about getting that alignment under authority. Because when you're alignment under authority, you now have authority. And guess what? When you have authority, you can have confidence. What else? Peaceful body language. Jesus was not threatening to anyone. He was peaceful. He was peaceful in his words. He was peaceful in how he acted with people. That's the same thing with us. His tone of voice. Ruth's tone of voice. He didn't have to yell and scream. Ruth didn't have to yell and scream. When Boaz woke up and he was frightened and afraid, Ruth, you know what she did? She told him who she was. She told him why she was there. She told him in so many words, hey, I'm a lady been working in your field and I'm not a threat to you. However, I am here to get your attention. And so she did get his attention. Why? Because she cleaned herself up. She anointed herself. And she followed the instructions of her mother-in-law. Humility. Ruth had humility. Of course, Jesus is the greatest example of humility. Right? He died for all of us. I mean, that's humility. If that's not humility, we don't know what humility is. And then last but not least, Jesus accepted his path that God had called him to do. Guess what? Ruth did the same thing. And you know what? Boaz did the same thing. Because Boaz said, you know, in so many words, I'm going to make a down payment. I'm going to make a promise to you. I'm going to make a down payment on you. And tomorrow, you know what? I'm going to make sure we're going to bring this thing to an end. And that's what we have to learn how to do sometimes. I'm telling you, if you want to have a powerful presence, do these 5 things. And I promise you, when you do these 5 things, the opportunities, whatever you're seeking in this thing called life, they're going to run you down. You know why they're going to run you down? Because now you're ready. So you think you've been getting ready for your opportunities? Guess what? Your opportunities are waiting on you to get ready for them. Your opportunities waiting on you, but you got to get ready. So listen, use this video to get ready. Like it, comment on it, share it with someone who needs to have a powerful presence. Because all of us need to have a powerful presence. But more importantly, it's not about us, but it's about the people we're connecting to. So listen, I hope you've enjoyed this video. We look forward, again, like it, comment on it, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. See you soon.